talking about today. Lady Mechanika, Volume 2. Chen, Benitez, Montiel, and Garria are the writers. It's called The Tablet of Destinies. And I have to say, I like this second volume a lot better than the first. And I enjoyed the first one, but this one, I feel like they really, maybe it's because he got someone to help him with the story, so they were able to spread the work. Maybe that's a lot more people on this one. But it's definitely a really good comic book, and I enjoyed it. The main crux of the story is Lady Mechanika has a young girl that is her friend that comes to her because there was an attempted kidnapping on the young girl. There's another attempted kidnapping with Lady Mechanika there, and she fails to stop it, and they get away with the young girl. So she pursues the young girl, and there's lots of stuff that happens that is very interesting. We're introduced also to many characters. Even the young girl is quite interesting. And they eventually, the whole reason she was kidnapped is because her grandfather is in an expedition in Africa. And the bad guys, as it were, this time around, different people, hope to find an ancient Babylonian weapon, which they do actually find. And they're using the young girl as leverage to make her grandfather read, interpret, and figure out how it works and everything. It really is a very interesting story, and there are quite a few twists and turns. It reminds me very much more of almost like a pulp novel, with some Lovecraftian elements also. The main villains, the antagonists that we were been fighting against in this whole story, they actually turn out to be snake people, which I just loved that. I thought it was very cool, just very pulp, very noir even, and I like it with the steampunk aesthetic. There are, of course, a few things, again, that detract from it, but not very much. My main complaint, which carries over from the first volume, is Lady Mechanika herself. She seems to be whatever is needed at the moment. At one point in the story there, she seems to know a very precise piece of information that is extremely detailed, and it was very weird, because it was almost like a Batman moment when Batman explains some obscure thing that just happens to give him the information that he needs, and it's like, how would anybody know that? Oh, only an obsessive crazy person that spent their whole life studying obscure details so that they know everything for clues that they can find. We've never seen Lady Mechanika engage in research or study that she would need to know these things. Now, admittedly, it's not super obscure. I don't think it was something related to Francis Bacon, some piece of information about him in the Rosicrucians. But, oh yeah, we get Rosicrucians too. Yeah, it's great. I love it. And so I have to say that that just struck me as very odd, because she was actually talking to a researcher, an academic person who you might expect would know that piece of information. But that given aside, like I said, all the side characters are extremely interesting. The art is excellent throughout the book. And the villains, unlike the first book, who were a little, just a, bad industrial guy, corporate guy, basically, much more interesting and just cool overall. And that's why I say that this book is much more fun. It feels a little bit too like an Indiana Jones story, but not, I don't feel it was a rip-off, just more like they borrowed just some of the cool pulp noir Indiana Jones elements. And the story moves along and keeps progressing very quickly, and like I said, they have to keep adjusting things because they change, and things don't go quite as well in this book in Lady Mechanika's favor, as so far as some of her actions do fail and turn out to not work out as well, so they have to regroup and do things a little bit differently. And I don't want to go too much into the story, mainly because it actually is pretty ups and down, back and forth all over the place in a good way. So I want to leave that for anyone that's interested in it, that to read that for themselves. And also, it would actually take quite a while to go through it and explain each thing that's going on. Like I said, this book is quite a bit better than the first one. Like, I could kind of explain the story in that one, which wasn't actually that convoluted. And even though the art and the side characters were pretty interesting, we didn't spend, except for the Gypsy family, a whole lot of time with them either to get to know them. And then the second volume, it's much more interesting overall, and I enjoy the pace of the story and the different problems that come up during the course of it and how they resolve it or they fail to resolve them. And it's a very nice piece. Honestly, you don't even need to read the first volume. If it sounded a little boring to you, you could skip straight to this one. There is no tie-in. There is no, that mysterious stranger from the first one doesn't show up. The Rosicrucians are introduced as the unknown factor, the mysterious strangers, so to speak, in this one. And I do wonder, I think there are more of these, and I'll probably get them and continue to talk about them if they, and I hope they do live up, because at this course, the way they're going, they really are getting onto something really good here. And I would like to definitely see the series continue. And the only thing that I would hope that would happen is that Lady Mechanika herself would become more of a defined character. Everyone else in the book, all the side characters, you know a lot more about them. Even the mysterious stranger from this one, which is a Rosicrucian character, we don't know that much about him, but I almost feel in a way we know more about him and how he might act in situations than Lady Mechanika. But definitely high praise for the book. Enjoyable story. If you have any questions, just leave them below.